weekly look at all of the hot topics in HR.
Whether it's passive talent or it's active talent.
That's a soft skill that really gets undersold in the hiring process.
How to manage in the virtual environment.
You get a diverse, cultured group of people. It's a win-win for everybody.
More conversion from candidate to lead.
What does that look like in this new virtual world?
We are live. We are live. We are live today and every Thursday coming to you. This is Talent Experience Live, of course. We're broadcasting from our studios just outside of Philadelphia. JD, myself, joined by JT, Jen Thomas. And we appreciate everyone coming out and watching us and listening to us. I want to pay some bills real quick. This, of course, is brought to you by Phenom. From Phenom, we care about 4 really key, amazing experiences. We care about AI. We care about that experience of helping candidates find the right job faster. We're trying to help employees evolve and grow. We want to help recruiters gain more productivity and efficiency in their everyday. And we want to help hiring managers make better decisions and build faster teams. Jen, what other check boxes should we go after today?
So we definitely want you to hop into the chat, engage. We'd love for you to be a part of this conversation. It's an easy way to do it. Also, if you are not able to tune into this episode, you can check out phenom.com/blog. We do a blog recap of all of our episodes. So you can go there, or you can go directly to YouTube or LinkedIn to check out previous episodes.
So come at us, ask questions, let's talk. Actually, I think today we'll do something special. Anyone who's interacting with us on the chat, get in touch with us. We've got some amazing playing cards, Phenom branded playing cards. They're hot off the press. They're extras that we had from HR Tech, and we'd love to send you something. So interact with us, ask us a question, get active, and we'll be glad to make sure we reach out, get your information, and send you some cool Phenom swag. So join us, subscribe to our channels. And I think today, Jen, is probably one of our most controversial topics that we could possibly address right now. What is it, though?
Yes, let me tell you all. So today we're going to be talking about the big quit, why we need it, and what we can learn. Employers have been dreading this for months. Call it what you want, the Great Resignation, the big quit. But the reality is I think very few employers think about this as a good thing, something that they're celebrating. However, it actually could be a great thing if we maybe change the way we're looking at things. So that's what we're going to be talking about. JD, you have been very passionate on covering this topic. You have very strong feelings about it. So the fact is that we're actually there. People have been talking about the Great Resignation. It's here. Just on Tuesday, the Labor Department stated that 4.3 million employees have left their jobs, led by bar, restaurant, and retail employees. And that number has not been seen since, I think, December of 2020. So it's been a while, and this is here. We're not just planning for it anymore. So would love to get into it, why this is happening and what you think, all the positives that can come from it.
Let's absolutely get into it and let's have fun today. But this is a really serious topic. And you're right. It's one I'm passionate about and have actually asked for on this program. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room and I'm going to go right after it. Jen, why are you
I am not quitting. So I am not. I don't know who told you I was. I'm staying here at Phenom. I'm quite happy.
We have wrong show notes. We have the wrong show notes. I don't know what's going on. No, and all kidding aside, your manager's upstairs, so I can understand why you're hesitant to answer that question. I think as we look at what's going on right now with the big quit, we start asking ourselves, is it real? It's obvious. You mentioned the labor statistics, but I think the reality is everyone at this point knows someone that they're either related to or a friend who has either quit recently, change jobs, all types of reasons, right? I also, so we all know someone, so it must be real, right? That's a sniff test. It passes the sniff test. The other thing you can look at is you can look at and you can say, we're talking about the big quit. But in the case of the big quit, what we have to understand is there are different types of workers now. There's a pretty big divide between knowledge workers who are just like you and I sitting in an office on, big comfy chairs. We have the ability to work remote in most cases right now. Maybe at some point for the rest of our careers, you can stay remote, but we don't really know how that's going to fall out. But then you also have an entire set of frontline workers.
Sure.
Their challenge, I think, is distinctly different. And I think in this episode, when we talk about the big quit or the Great Resignation, we're really talking about knowledge workers today. So it's not that we're trying to ignore frontline workers, but they have different complexities and they have a different challenge right now in their job and in their role and their function and in their salaries, quite frankly. Did you align with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they are two different things, but the reality is people are leaving regardless of what role they play, whether
Yes.
they're a frontline worker or they are a knowledge worker. And why is this happening? One of the first questions I actually wanted to address with you is, do you think this whole thing was inevitable? I mean, people have been predicting this for months now. This is, we've been talking about this. So do you think this was inevitable? And if so, why?
Yeah. Okay. Fair. I'm glad we're off to the difficult questions because that's what we promised people.
We're going to cut right into it.
We talked about this is going to be a controversial episode, not in a negative way with controversy, but with challenging topic. I think we should admit and lay some ground rules that there is no one size fits all approach. Any discussion we're having today or any theories we come up with or what we say works and doesn't work, there's no one size fits all approach in this market because every person at an individual level, every person is different. Every circumstance that they have is different. And that's part of this. And that's why it's so hard for both employees and the employers to handle this situation. I would say it's not a situation, it's an environment that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you started off by talking about the topic, which is the big quit. And is it good or not? I actually think it's great. I truly believe it is a great thing we're going through.
And there are probably a ton of people who are listening to this thinking, how could you say that? So let's hear why you think this is so great. Because people are, I think, fellow employees, when they have colleagues who leave, they're thinking, oh, great, this is more that's falling onto me. I think hiring managers might be thinking, oh my gosh, I already was trying to hire for these positions. Now I have this many more. So how is this a good thing?
Yeah. How is it a good thing? Again, you're putting in a tough situation. Here's what I will say, and here's what I honestly believe, and I personally believe. I believe that at any point in time in someone's career, that there has to be a true alignment between what that employee values, what they're looking for, what they need in their career. And that has to be directly in line with what a company is looking for, what a company's purpose is, and what a company needs from that employee. And that is a thing that is in constant evolution. And when you have an opportunity to reevaluate that, it's a positive thing. And I think that's what's happening right now, that employees are feeling empowered to evaluate that, not feeling trapped in a role that they may have joined for the great reasons, but they've outgrown, or there's been a different alignment. And the same goes true for the employer. They have the ability to work with employees and put a check on this alignment. And if everyone's aligned and things are going well, great. It's not a problem. And if they're not aligned, this is a really good time to make a change. So that's why I think this is a really good thing. Now, there's inherent risks with this, of course. We're going to get into it. I hope you ask me some more difficult questions, and I'll challenge you as well. But that's why I think this is a really great thing right now. And both employers benefit and employees benefit. And I'd like to understand from your perspective more, when we're worried that it puts more work on the existing workers, maybe it does in the short term, but isn't long term getting new employees in the door that align with the role, the function, and everything else? Isn't that what's best for the team, for individuals, and for the company?
Sure. Yeah. I think one of the things that I encountered this past summer, we had some fabulous interns come in and join us, and I had a great time working with them, getting them to get familiar with Phenom, our processes, the way we write, the way we organize our content. But one of the things that in a way broke my heart a little bit was all of the work that was being put into that. I didn't know whether or not, since they were juniors, they still had their senior years to fulfill, how that was going to also come full circle and help us as a team as well. I mean, they came up with some fabulous presentations that we're using to revamp newsletters, and I could go on. But I agree that when you do have the right fit and that they're going to be sticking with you, investing that time in their development and seeing how the whole team can come together and make something better, how that's, only a positive thing.
It is only a positive thing. So if we were to look at and explore, there's many sources out there. We're not doing it today to explore why individuals leave, right? Why people leave. And that's why I said it gets so individual. It's about the individual and their situation. It is not here's why everyone's leaving. Oh, everyone wants more money. No, not everyone wants more money.
But a lot do. Let's be honest.
But a lot do, and that's not wrong.
Right.
Especially if their career has outpaced what they're currently making.
Sure.
I look at that as a conversation you have between the employee and the employer. Have that conversation. That gets into the advice that we have later in the program with some questions you have around if someone really is thinking about leaving right now, what should they start doing? But since you answered my question, which is why are you quitting? And you said you're not quitting.
No.
Why aren't you quitting?
There's a lot of reasons. Aside from the fact that I think I really resonate with what I do, I think that I am recognized for the work that I do. I feel like I'm bringing impact to the company that brings me personal satisfaction. So that's certainly a big reason. I also love my team. I think that we have a really good synergy, and to not have that, I think that can be a major factor in how you feel about your job and what you're bringing to the team. I also really align with our purpose. I think that's another big player. And then just looking at it from more minor things, I live 5 minutes away. I have a 5-minute commute. It really is like my ideal job. It's everything I've ever wanted. I get to do what I like to do. I get to work with a fabulous team, and I do have some benefits like a 5-minute commute. So that certainly helps.
So if we were to put you on a spot just a little more, knowing that I am your boss's boss, and your boss is in the building, which is not awkward because we're a very close knit kind of Phenom family here. But I want to ask you pointed questions. Do you feel you have upward mobility for where you're at in your career path in your career?
I do. I think that my boss definitely has my best interest at heart. I've seen that time and time again. I think that she steps up when she needs to step up. I think she handles difficult conversations when they need to be handled. And she's always open to conversations, not just like when it's time to review, for your annual review, but consistently across the board, making sure that I have an opportunity to talk about what it is I'm doing, where I want to go, how I see, my career progressing. And, that's really been invaluable. So I do think that having a manager who has your back and you really feel is a proponent and an advocate for your success is key.
Yeah. So those just joining us, we are talking about the big quit, the Great Resignation that's happening out there. Please, if you have some comments, ask them. We're 15 minutes in the show, but just getting started in the really hard topics. This show is benefiting both if you are thinking about quitting, or you're an employer or manager who's trying to retain someone. This show is applicable to everyone involved right now. And we are trying to hit the hot topics. We're talking to Jen Thomas, and I'm asking Jen some pretty on the fly spot questions. We're not a scripted show here today. And so I'm going to ask you another uncomfortable question, but I do not want you to disclose any type of compensation information.
Okay. Noted.
So you said you're happy. You gave reasons why you're not quitting and looking. Do you feel you could get paid more or should be paid more?
I do.
Right. And so that shows and proves that the show is not scripted. But I will tell you this as a credit to yourself. You have advocated for yourself. You have shared that with leaders and your manager. And that's something we're always trying to take care of our A players. And so I don't acknowledge or say anything else on that topic other than to say and to help other people involved here who do like what they do, who do feel appreciated and valued by their manager, who do see they do see upward mobility, but they also feel that they could get compensated more. That's a reality. And I'm sure, and I don't want to, because it's so uncomfortable, I'm sure, even for me, I'm sure it's something that weighs on you or is in the back of your mind. And this is the challenge right now. Anyone can leave with the great quit happening. Anyone can leave and get more money.
Right.
Anyone can leave. Anyone. Even CEOs can leave and get more money. There's not one person that I'm aware of that I work with in this entire company of Phenom or other companies that I know in our networks that I've worked at previously who couldn't leave right now and get more money. Boy, that's scary as an employer, as a manager and a hiring manager. It's scary.
Sure.
So it shows that the relationship has to be there. The value, the feeling of being valued, the knowing of upward mobility, all of that has to be there, or you've already lost that person. I feel you've already lost that person. So it's not just as simple as one thing.
No.
Right? There's a lot of factors. I'll also say this, I think, out of the complexity of this conversation. I think the factors matter based upon where someone is in their career, in their personal life, in their career goals. All of that is different. There are some individuals who are in the prime learning and experience years in their life. That may be the most important priority and thing for them over the next 2-3 years.
Right.
There are others that they should be in their prime financial compensation years in their life. And so decisions that employees make are going to be across the board and different. And I think the best employers, the best managers will understand individuals' needs and accept it and support and champion whatever things are happening within their team. I think that's really hard for people to do and recognize.
Yeah, I agree. And the common theme here is what we're talking about is really employee experience. For so long, I think employers have been focused on candidate experience, which is certainly important. But if we look at our customers too, a lot more of them are investing more in employee experience as well. What are they doing to make sure that the people they already have are having that same great experience internally that their external, candidates are having? So a lot of them are pivoting. They're trying to retain their employees. So what are some of the things that you think employers are doing now to keep their talent?
Well, I think employers right now are trying to figure out, and they're having lots of meetings with management, and they're saying, oh my gosh, we have a problem here. Everyone's leaving. Now, the reality is not everyone is leaving. You case in point to yourself, myself, the Justin Devitt, who's behind the scenes pulling the ones and twos. Not everyone is leaving, but there's certainly a population of people that are. So what are folks trying to do? I think what employers should do is they should ensure they have the best leaders and managers they could possibly have leading teams of people. Because we know even prior to COVID, prior to any of the societal and technological changes that are affecting our industry and the world, we already know that managers and good leaders within those teams are one of the most key pieces of retaining employees. So I think that first and foremost, you got to make sure you have the right leaders and you have the right managers in place, because it's so important to have them. That won't stop everyone from leaving. What that helps is it helps have the candid, open conversations about alignment. And do you have the right people? And is everyone connected? And is everyone on board, connected with purpose, understanding their career path, understanding their upward mobility, understanding what experience they need to get to the next level? If you have the managers doing that, then at a company level, half the problem is already solved.
For sure. But do you think that managers and teams need help with this? You know, a lot of employees don't know exactly where they want to go. They know that they want to grow. They know that they want to develop themselves, but they don't have a clear picture of that. So is there technology that can help, you know, TA, that can help talent management, help facilitate, you know, these progressions with employees?
Yeah, I'd honestly, I'd like to save the technology discussion for later in this program.
Okay.
Because yes, the short answer is there's absolutely technology that can help, but the technology doesn't replace the human elements of good leadership and good people and good alignment and good conversations.
Sure.
But what it does help is it helps an employee who's not sure or maybe not as comfortable having these conversations. Not everyone is comfortable with this.
Right. It can be awkward.
Very awkward. So technology can help encourage those conversations, point out where there's career paths that no one actually knew existed. And that's where even AI technology gets really exciting in the employee experience. But I'd like to hold off technology discussion. Okay. We have an expert coming to us, Jesus, not now, but he's coming to us after the 12:30 hour here in about 8 to 12 minutes. We'll probably delay him because of what we're talking about. He's going to talk to us about the technology and how that can actually help with some of these pieces of the conversation. I know we're jumping around, but all of this is important. Kelly had thrown a comment, very long comment, but it's a great comment. We won't read it all, but she's talking about alignment and purpose and recognition and why she is staying in a given opportunity and role. However, major shifts like restructuring, reorganization on the horizon, or having managerial responsibilities, but not being compensated in conjunction with, right? Like it goes, and my guess is she's wondering then, like, how does that factor into it? And I don't see the full comment, but I do think this is where it's different for everybody. And we have to understand that. That's where these good leaders come in, and good managers, and open conversation and dialogue. Things are complex, and it's a complex world. And so we have to really look at the situation. I think you have to have mentors in your life. You have to have knowing if you have champions, it gets a little more complex. But the conversations need to be had. If you love what you do, if you love where you work with, if you love the team you work with, you have to speak up. You have to feel empowered to speak up and say, the only thing I feel is not adequate is salary. And I really think I've outpaced my compensation. What can we talk about there?
So how do you think HR can actually better support employees and managers who are navigating this? I mean, it's great to say employees should do that, but the reality is I think a lot of employees feel very uncomfortable having those conversations. So what can HR do to facilitate those conversations?
I was actually sidetracked because I was reading Kelly's second question where she talked about there are limits to compensation, retention, and bonuses and stock options. Are they still valued? I think people miss people. I do think people miss people.
Sure.
We agree, Kelly. Jen and I talked about AI and technology is not a replacement for the human conversations. I just want to acknowledge that. Thanks for participating. Get in touch with us. Henry, Hank, you reached out too. We've got Danielle reaching out. All these folks. Ask questions. Thanks for engaging with us. We want to connect with you. Send you some cool logoed branded Phenom merchandise around playing cards. They're hot off the press from HR Tech. So what is your restated question, Jen?
Sure. So I'm wondering, for the employees that do have a challenge,
Yes.
speaking up and trying to get what they want, how can HR better support employees and managers, who are navigating this shift and this rebalancing of the workplace?
I think HR needs to start making it okay to have the conversation. HR does an amazing job about making sure it's okay that if someone feels harassed, that they speak up. There's official means and channels, if they speak up, that it's taken seriously. And in fact, to the level of managers or people who are told about harassment are also responsible for doing something.
Right.
Like, why are we making it so open and okay to talk about harassment, which is a good thing? I'm saying that's a great thing. But yet we want to not encourage a different conversation around someone's happiness, around their job fulfillment, around their connection to a company's purpose, around the compensation that they have. It has to be just as strong of doing that, right? Like it should be. So I think HR can encourage the conversations. They can make sure managers and leaders and future leaders of the company are trained and taught how to better listen and how to really make it okay to be personal with employees in a way that helps them fulfill the employee's career path. Because when there's a misalignment between the employee and what they're doing, it's not good for the company. It's not good for anybody. Hence, we're in the big quit and realignment. People have stayed in their jobs forever, not being happy. Why would you stay in a job when you're not happy? And I think that is the one thing that is wonderful to hear. People who are not happy right now feel empowered to go look somewhere. And that benefits the employer. It's not comfortable because, man, we have to fill new spots. We have to all go after talent. But it's great that it's happening because at the end of the day, there'll be more fulfillment on both the employee side and the employer side. So you and I could talk all day. There are still several questions that are the difficult questions we're going to get to. I want to bring a guest on for 5 minutes. If we could bring John Harrington on, that'd be great. As you're doing that, John Harrington, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Hey, Jen. Hey, John.
John's on mute. No?
Should be able to hear me.
We gotcha. John, you've recently joined Phenom. You're like 40 days into Phenom. I think you would be classified in the classic definition of the Great Resignation, the big quit. I know you had to make some very hard decisions in your life, and just knowing you personally, you had to make some hard decisions in coming to Phenom. But what I'd like to understand from your perspective is, what are some of the things that you went through or that went through your mind and why you were even open to coming and switching careers or moving companies?
Yep, that's a great question. And I've had time to think about it. It's crazy how long I've been here. And I was thinking we're all in the office today. I've been coming into the office, and that's something new to me and something I wasn't doing where I came from. I think one of the motivating factors that really led to me resigning and being part of the big quit was trying to continue my career trajectory on a path that I was thinking through in detail with myself and trusted advisors that I've picked and chosen over the years to help craft what my future looks like. And I knew I wanted to stay in product marketing, which is where I am now. I knew that I wanted to continue growing and challenging myself and taking on new things. And I felt like I wasn't going to be able to get there where I was staying, and I needed to look elsewhere. And part of what you said earlier about finding it's the pursuit of happiness, right? You have to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, is where I'm staying and what I'm doing every day fulfilling to me? And I had to be honest with myself.
So, John, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want to know how drastic it was that you felt like, oh my gosh, I need a change, or how subtle it was. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most drastic, I need to run from this. Maybe 1 would be I'm running from the building, and 10 would be, well, I just felt like it was time. Where are you on that scale of running out the door or being pretty happy, but realizing it's time?
I think close to the top, but I wouldn't call it a 10. I do think that in the conversations that I had with you and, when I was looking outside, I took my time making my mind up about what the future looked like. So I didn't run from the building, but I did carefully think through the criteria that I would need to meet with myself about what my next job looked like. And I wanted to make sure that I was going through that in a very carefully thought out and well-paced kind of manner so that I knew I was making the right decision, because of course there's an opportunity cost that comes with leaving. There's a lot of great things about the job that everyone leaves, right? It's not all negative. So I really wanted to make sure I was taking the time to carefully think through that. And with you being my manager now and, the person that I was predominantly having those discussions with, I feel like we really took the time to kind of make sure it was a good fit for you and for Phenom.
I appreciate you being candid. Before we let you go, is there any parting words you'd have for anyone listening today?
No, I would advise anyone who's contemplating leaving their role, to be doing the same type of thing where you're looking at not just escaping from something or running from something, but look at it as what's your future? What's in store for you? What do you want for yourself? What are you trying to get after in your career? What do you want to hang your hat on at the end of the day? And those are important things to be thinking through so that you can actually define for yourself what that next job looks like, and make sure that jump is worth the effort, the trouble, and that you're going to go somewhere, add value, and get just as much out of it as you put in.
So I want to ask, actually, that was my final one, but I have one more question because we do have an HR audience that listens on. And anytime you lose a key employee, anytime someone so valuable leaves the company and it gets more than 10 people sending emails and Slack messages saying, holy crap, do you hear who just left? It causes an alarm. So do you have any advice from the HR professionals who are listening, who are battling this and may not agree with Jen and I that this is a great thing, who are really struggling because their jobs are really hard to get people and retain people? And we need to acknowledge that. The HR profession right now is going through one of the hardest challenges with both attracting, engaging, converting, and then retaining eventually employees. But do you have advice for them? Is there anything your existing employer could have done to keep you?
So I think that I've really been given a lot of exposure to what the back end looks like for a talent management professional, and what are some of the tools at your disposal to keep people happy with their jobs, to keep them finding meaning and pursuing their happiness with you. I think one of the core things that I would really center on if I was in that type of role is looking at every person as a person and not a number. Look at every person as someone who can add value to your team in ways that maybe you don't know today, or maybe you're not aware of, but trying to find the dots that are being connected between what someone has the potential to do and what they're actually doing, and helping them find that career path or access to mentors or coaches or people that they can actually work with hand in hand to get the skills and the experience that they need to qualify for the opportunities that are going to help your business compete. Right now, I do feel like a lot of that is very hard to do, and I'm not making it seem like that's an easy job, but I do think that it's the worthwhile time that needs to be put in to look at the people on your team as true assets and people that need to be continually invested in, to really get the most out of them and to ensure that they are finding that level of fulfillment with you.
John, answer the difficult question. I'm not saying you're avoiding it. That was actually very good advice. I'm sure a lot of people wanted to hear that. What was the one silver bullet that could have kept you? Because everyone knows if we would have just done that one thing, we would have had him. We would have kept that. What's the one thing? What's the silver bullet that would have kept you?
I mentioned at the beginning, and I'll re-mention it. I'm definitely trying to grow, and I did throw my hat in the ring for a more senior level, executive level position at my company, and I was kept in the interview cycle, I think a little longer than even anticipated, but was not given the opportunity to move forward with it. I do feel like I put my best foot forward with that opportunity. That is something that I would consider a silver bullet. If they showed that confidence in me to pursue that role, I would have jumped in and jumped on it with 2 feet and done as best a job as possible. But, someone with more experience, more qualified got the role, and that didn't exhaust my outlook on what's next for me. And I do still have, the ambition to grow. So I feel like that was a deciding factor in, hey, I've looked and evaluated what my career path could look like here. And it does open the door for other opportunities when you realize you don't have to necessarily keep that search in-house. You can look elsewhere.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you. And joining Phenom. Much appreciated that too.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Justin, can we throw Kate Shapiro's comments up there? I think they're important. Kate, thanks. You really appreciate your participation. Let's make sure we get in touch. Thanks for listening to the show. I agree with you. It brings new talent, new ideas. You always need that, especially as leaders. You see what you have for a while on your team, and you look so much forward to getting fresh, because fresh could mean amazing new person. It could also mean something that didn't work out. You try to hire for the best outcome. Jen, after hearing John, what comes to your mind?
So I think John touched on this a little, but something I'm curious to explore a little bit more are what are some of the risks for employees who are feeling that itch? They don't know whether they should stay or if they should go. What are some of those risks that they should consider before they make the jump?
Yeah. So what are the risks? What are the risks to this realignment?
There's always a risk.
There's always a risk. Here's what I feel. I feel the risks, again, no one size fits all approach. There's no one risk that you need to watch out for. I truly believe individuals need to look at and examine in themselves, in their career path, what are the reasons why I feel like I should stay? What are the reasons I feel like I need to go? What's forcing me out of this company? What's keeping me in this company? And I think the risks are for the employee is leaving for the wrong reasons, or staying worse, just as bad, staying for the wrong reasons.
What are the wrong, and what do you think the wrong reasons are? Okay,
wrong reasons. Maybe they may be, you have all the great growth you need. You have your set of champions. You have everyone. You already established your brand within the company. It is a positive brand. Everyone loves it. And you see that there is upward mobility. Mm-hmm. You see that everything you could want over the next 2 or 3 years is in fact there. Currently, it changes, but when you evaluate, it's there. Are you getting compensated enough? If the answer is yes, you have no reason to leave, do you? I think if you leave at that point, maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe it's not the best decision. No one knows what the future holds. Maybe it's not the best decision. Another risk, you stay with the company thinking you have everything and it doesn't pan out. The org, Kelly mentioned, maybe the org reorgs, and what you stayed for today, what you evaluated today, all of a sudden 3 months from now is not there. But you feel like, well, I just committed to staying. And now you feel maybe stuck again. You don't want that either. That's a risk. That's a risk of staying. So I think if you jump from money, solely from money, it's a challenge. I think that's fair. I don't think that's my opinion. I think that's almost all professional opinions. But it depends on where you're at in your career. If you need to feed your family, if you need to attain a certain thing in your life, in the financial aspect is the most critical thing at attaining that. I'm not talking about someone being selfish. I'm talking about someone who doesn't have the ability to make any other decision. Then that is the most important thing for me. That $20,000 or $30,000 raise, that is the difference between something really important in their life. That's not the wrong reason to leave for financial. That's the right reason. Jen, do you agree? It's really complicated.
Yeah, I don't see how you can't say it's complicated. There are so many things, from financials to what you feel deep down inside, what gives you satisfaction, what you're able to balance, from remote work to hybrid work, all of this is factoring in right now. People have gotten used to being able to work remotely. some people have to go back to the office. They don't like it. So they're looking for jobs where they can be fully remote. So, there's just a lot going on right there. So we addressed what employees think,
Yes.
and some of the risks for employees, but what are some of the risks for employers? Like if they want to really retain these employees and they're willing to, bring up their salaries, promote them, give them bigger titles, are there risks inherent to doing that?
I think there's absolute risk inherent to that, but not something in most cases not worth taking. In most cases, if you have an A player right now, the way the economy is, the way everyone is fighting for talent, if compensation is one of the key factors for the employees that you care most about, then that's the button you should press. I can't state that enough. That's the button you should press. But I wouldn't press that button for everyone because I don't think that's right. Now you're retaining people because you're worried about them leaving when they're not the right fit for your team. Again, this is about the realignment. Why would you keep trying to incentivize someone to stay when long-term you and them are not aligned? And that's the danger. One of the big dangers and risks for an employer is retaining people right now purely based upon compensation when it's not the right fit. It's extremely selfish. It is extremely selfish because I don't want to have to rehire. I'm going to keep an employee I know is not best for them. If you feel it's best for them, talk to them about what's not working, why they're not receiving more compensation if they feel like they should be, and work with them to increase their skills, change the role they have, do something to help that realignment get reestablished. The second part that's not talked about is sometimes right now, I see it in the industry, employers are just throwing money at not existing employees, but new candidates. Well, if I throw enough money at them,
right,
they'll come to this team. They don't even know if it's the right team to come to. So the risk is overpaying for unproven talent. The same it is for having proven talent and not paying them enough. So I think there's some risks and there's some slippery slopes there. And then that kind of goes further and further. If you've overpaid for someone, now you have an existing employees that are great, that are proven. What do you do for them? Should you leave that wage gap? I don't think you should leave the wage gap. I do not think you should leave wage gap. I think employees need to feel valued based upon market conditions. And I think we're in a tough cycle. Many organizations do not have the ability to adjust and be that flexible. They don't have the ability to give raises in an economy like it is. And it's going to show and it's going to hurt people. It's going to hurt the employer. It's going to hurt the employee too. So we have hotter topics. We have champions to get to. We have advice for employees. We talked about some of that stuff, but we do have a guest that's been waiting on, and we are running out of time on the Big Quit Show, which I hope people do see is one of the most controversial topics we've ever talked about here, that we're going at it and really exploring it. But we have Jesus. Hey, Jesus, come on to the program, please. Jesus is one of our product experts here at Phenom. Hey, Jesus.
Hey.
Guys, how are you?
Good.
Doing great. Why don't I let you and Jen go here? We're just looking for, 5 minutes. But what we want to know is, right, Jen, you want to talk to me about how the technology, you asked me the question, I said, let's save it so you can get into it, Jesus, how the technology is helping in the Big Quit, but not replacing humans.
Yeah. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. So just trying to figure out how HR can leverage tech to help with all the different things that we're talking about here, especially regarding employee experience, which, like I said, so many companies are now doubling down on. I think it's long overdue, and now is the time. So how can technology help make your employee experience better?
Yeah, and I think the first part I would love to cover is really transparency, right? That's where technology comes into play. It's about creating that transparency for an employee to understand not just where they are today and how they can, further learn, further enhance their experiences, but also get a sense, a trajectory of where they want to go in the organization, what's possible today versus what's possible in the next 2 years. What's my career path? What are my options? How do I get certified in certain aspects? How do I get curated learnings that matter to what I'm looking for, right? I think that's the big part that we hear a lot in the industry is We want transparency. We want our employees to have the keys, right? It's their journey at the end of the day, whether they're with our organization or a different organization. We want to give them the keys, give them that visibility so they can say, this is where I see myself in 5 years. Now, how do I actually get there? And that's where technology comes into play. Transparency, but also actionable, right? Giving them the keys to create that journey, but also giving them the tools to actually action against it, be able to show their leaders and say, hey, I'm really committed to this. This is where I see myself in the next 5 years. These are all the things I'm doing to actually action to get there. What else can you recommend for me? And I think that's really where technology is going to bridge the gap. In the past, I think everyone's pretty familiar with spreadsheets, and they're not very visible, easy to understand for employees. And there's been a lot of times where employees just get stagnant, right? They don't know what's next. They don't know what other potential opportunities in the organization are available. And that's, again, technology is helping bridge that gap.
Absolutely. How do you think that technology can also expose some of those skills gaps and learnings that employees can take on so that they can fill those skills gap? Is that something that tech can help out with?
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's all about understanding the organization, right? That's technology's goal, is to understand every organization. Every organization is going to be unique. They're going to have unique jobs, unique ways of moving up the ladder, moving sideways, backwards in some cases, potentially. But understanding just what makes an organization unique and what makes every employee unique, right? Me as a product manager, I may not have any design skills, but I may want to pursue more of a design role or something of that sort. That might be my aspiration. So how do I actually get there, and is it allowed, right? But then connecting the learning pieces, right? Whether you're using LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, whatever the tools you're used to actually promote learning in the organization, but connecting the dots. If you want to be a product designer and you're a product manager today, how do we get you there? What courses can we promote? What mentorship programs can we promote? All of that really becomes part of the tech stack that promotes that transparency, that action that employees can take.
What role do you think AI, artificial intelligence, plays in really facilitating employee experience?
I think if I had to pick one, I think it plays multiple roles, but I think if I had to pick one specific caveat that AI really comes in and helps with is bridging the gap between position A to position B. What does it take to get there? And I think that's where AI really comes in and plays a huge role. It's creating transparency for the employee to know where they are today and where they need to be to get to position B. And that's where AI plays a really great part. It's connecting all of the different tools in a single stream to make it easy for an employee to know, this is where I am, this is where I need to be. How do I actually get there? Connecting the LMSs, connecting the learning content, connecting mentorships, projects, opportunities, all of that really plays well with AI being able to action or create a path for an employee who just may not know where they want to go or how to get there.
Do you think that chatbots too? I know that there's chatbots that are available for the employee experience. We've seen it on career sites for external candidates, and we've seen them using that to explore different questions, FAQs. What role do you think that plays for employees who have questions, who may not feel comfortable going to HR, or who just want an easier path to get answers to their, internal questions?
Yeah, and I think absolutely the chatbot plays a great role too as well in the employee experience. Having a central location with just frequently asked questions, something that you can get a quick response to. Could be anything about what is career progression in my organization? Am I eligible for movements, or how do I move in the organization? Just having something quickly at your fingertips, whether you're on a mobile or a tablet or on your desktop, just having those quick conversations with our AI, making it conversational, making it impactful, understanding the questions and returning valid responses is absolutely critical as well from a transparency perspective.
Yeah, I'm dying. Put me in, Coach Justin. Thank you very much. I'm dying to ask you, Jesus. I'm absolutely dying. You said point A to point B. Great. okay, you could see point A to point B, but how the heck do I get there? So where does your skills gap analysis, where does your learning and development, where does mentoring and gigs, how does that play into where technology helps that employee, but also helps that manager? And then we'll let you go, but you cannot leave without answering that question.
So I think a great way that I like to phrase this is think about any learning aspect or any learning tool you've used in your life. There's thousands of courses, and how do you actually identify what's relevant to what you want, right? I'm a product manager. I may do a quick, simple search for product management, but I may get courses that aren't really relevant for me moving up the role in product management's world, right? That's really where that skills gap analysis comes into play, where AI plays a crucial role. It's understanding what is required for that next move in product management and what courses and what proficiency level of those courses can we filter up front for you. So you're not doing a search and trying to find a course in a pile of 10, 20, 30,000 courses. Now it's just a simple list, quick for you. You select what you want, you take those courses, you update your skills, and it reflects instantly in our AI models.
Awesome. Jesus, appreciate you jumping on. Quick session, but I think it would have been valuable to both employees who are looking to see where does technology in their future help them with these conversations, but also from an employee, a manager, HR perspective, where that technology is moving. And it all exists today, which is the amazing thing, right? So thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Cheers. All right, Jen, we have two big things I want to get to before we shut this thing down.
Okay.
We have two topics. We want to talk about champions for sure.
Yeah.
So what should we talk about with champions? How do we want to even broach the topic? What the hell is a champion?
So I want to know how important you think it is that an employee has internal champions, people who are supporting that person, supporting their development, and really how that can make or break their experience at the company and their development, because I think making sure that somebody has your back is a big thing. If you don't feel supported, I don't know how comfortable people feel, even just asking simple questions, let alone more complicated questions about salary and career progression.
I want to be very clear about this point. And I'm glad you asked, Jen. You asked about champions and where champions come into play. I think if there was one single thing someone could have told me coming out of university, coming out of college and starting into the workforce, one single thing, I think I wish someone would have told me, you need to earn, find, develop, stumble upon, randomly connect with a champion or multiple champions. And when you find a champion that has your best interest in mind, when you find a champion that truly is looking at you as an individual, looking at your career path, looking at your financial growth, looking at your learning and development, stay with that champion for as long as you possibly can. That doesn't mean follow them along blindly. It doesn't mean go wherever they go. It doesn't mean you can't leave the company that you're working for or they're working for, but you have to seriously understand the value of a champion. The higher that champion is in ranking within a company, in influence, in title, the better it is for you. But champions cannot be artificially created. You cannot be a fake person finding a fake champion. That's not the way it works. But champions, I think, play one of the most critical roles in someone's career path growth and overall success within an organization and in a career. And I can't understate that enough. That's my experience. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm not saying this is gospel. I'm simply saying that the advice that I give a lot of younger talent, including our interns that this past year, is if you find and when you find your champion or your set of champions, evaluate that relationship very carefully and cherish it, because I think it's one of the most powerful things you can have to your success. Mentors are also great too, but a champion who's influential in the organization can help you get ahead or help you understand the obstacles that are in front of you and how to get around, over, and through those obstacles. That's my take on champions.
And do you think companies have programs that can help people find their champion, or do you think it has to happen more organically?
I think it can't be artificial, but I think you don't know who your champions are. You just don't wave a flag and say, looking for a champion. You can do that for a mentor. Hey, I'm looking for a mentor. Oh, someone else has a skill set. Like mentoring can be automated via AI. You can actually match what I need in my career, skills and all that. And AI can actually play a part in finding mentors. So I think HR, other individuals, leaders, I think they can help you find a champion. But it's not that you put an ad on the bulletin board, if you will, in the lunchroom, and you find that champion. That's why I said, regardless of how you find your champion, whether you stumble upon them, make the connection, go to networking sessions, put yourself out there, join different groups within the organization to expose yourself to as many people as you can. At some point, a champion is going to connect with you. You're going to connect with them. They're going to seriously and truly see the value you bring. And at that point, it's a very powerful thing to work together. They don't have to be your boss. They don't have to be in your same department. It helps, of course, if it is, but it doesn't have to be. But someone in that company who is having your back. And champions, by the way, a champion, I could tell you right now, I champion several people here at Phenom. It's not, there's one person only champions one person. That's not the way it works, or at least not the way it should work. You can be a champion to several people. And by the way, it's not just leaders. It's not just people with title. Every individual person can be a champion of someone else. And I think it's critical.
Yeah.
You got last.
You left me speechless. I couldn't say more. I know we have to wrap it up, yes. But there is one more thing that I did want to touch on for the people, for the employees who are considering, leaving. Is now the right time to leave? What advice do you have for them to consider, in their final decision as to whether they want to stay with their current employer or, they want to branch off and find out, what lies ahead?
Yeah. If you are thinking about quitting, Jessica, can I get a close up for this one? There we go. Appreciate it. If you are thinking about quitting right now, if you are thinking about your next career move, if you are thinking and not saying, I'm not quitting, but I'm looking for that next big step, quitting has a negative connotation to it. And I don't think it should. Leaving a company should not have a negative connotation. There are amazing reasons why people leave a company that's successful. You heard from John Harrington. John left a very successful role, a very successful company to take on a new opportunity. He didn't quit. He didn't quit. He grew. He expanded. So if you're sitting here listening to this and you're thinking of a career change, a move, I wouldn't consider it quitting. I would consider it an evaluation of the alignment of your opportunities with the company that you're working for. It is not, I'm giving up, I don't like this company anymore. Sure, some people are going to find themselves in that situation, but that's not what it's about. So my advice is check your alignment. Are your career goals and aspirations able to be obtained where you're at? Do you have upward mobility? Are you satisfied or feeling adequate related to compensation? Many people feel like they should get paid more, but no, it will take time to reach that level. And it's okay to stay at a company if you feel you're adequately compensated, but would like more or feel like you could have more. It's still okay if all of the other factors are lining up. If you know that one day it's going to play out for you well, if you're going to be able to reach that next level that you're looking at. So I think you have to check the alignment. Do you feel connected to the purpose of the company you're working for? If you don't feel connected to the purpose, if you don't feel value, if you don't feel you bring impact, how can you possibly be excited every day to work and to come to work and to make an impact? Come to work, maybe you wake up, you go into your closet and you flip up your laptop now and you're doing remote work. It doesn't mean physical work. So you have to evaluate all of these conditions that are important to you with how they align with where you're at. And I'd say if you're even nervous about it, if you're even contemplating that a little bit, if you're not sure, if those opportunities exist, have the conversation. The conversation is not the end. The conversation is the beginning. And that beginning can be amazing conversation. It might be uncomfortable at first, depending on who your manager is or leader is, and if you're comfortable speaking with them. But if you're not comfortable speaking with them, maybe that's the first sign. Maybe that's part of the challenge. So that's I have more advice, but that's, I think, some of the most important advice, Jen, that I could possibly give candidates is evaluate it, check for alignment, check for connection on purpose. Make sure you feel adequately compensated. If not, regardless, even if you do, even if you check the box on all those and you're happy, still have that open conversation with managers and leaders to understand where your career goes as it aligns with where that company and that team is going.
Yeah, I think something that I learned at Phenom is that we don't just wait until your annual review to have these conversations. It's something that, we can talk about whenever. We have weekly check-ins. So it's something that should really be part of the dialogue as you move through month by month, week by week, really, so that what's always on the table. You don't have to wait until that annual review to talk about, I think I deserve a raise or whatever it may be. So
Awesome.
I think that's really important too.
We've got to wrap up.
We do.
You kill it. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank Jesus, John Harrington, everyone today that talked about was giving their personal their personal experience or their personal views. That advice hopefully helps both job seekers, employers, recruiters, hiring managers who are listening to the program or catching this in the clips. Jen, do we have any check boxes as we shut the show down?
Yes. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to us on LinkedIn and YouTube. You can also stay up to date on our blog, phenom.com/blog. You can look for the recap next week of this episode. You can also catch previous episodes as well.
Awesome. From everyone here at Phenom, we sincerely thank you. That's it. It's a wrap.
Was it controversial?
You didn't get that in time.
Oh.